Ray, I wanted to give you the last word. Yes.
Yeah, if I may, I thank Scott for his input there, and I agree with almost all of it. I think maybe it'd be good for the audience to sort of do a 10 years back sort of thing. When Obama saw what was happening in Ukraine, after tolerating that coup under his leadership with that lady and so forth, he came to terms with the strategic situation. Now, he looked at a map, which I don't think Blinken or Sullivan know how to do. And he said, look, I got that great big country there, Russia, you got Ukraine. The biggest mistake we could make is to give Ukraine the idea that they could prevail in a fight against a much bigger, much more powerful, much bigger population, artillery and everything else, Russia, okay? So let's not give them that idea, and let's not give them offensive weaponry, okay? And there was a Deputy Secretary of State under Obama who said, you're absolutely right, Mr. President, because any arms we would give to Ukraine, the Russians would match, and then they'd double, and then they'd triple, and then they'd quadruple. So it doesn't make any sense at all, okay? Now, who was that Deputy Secretary of State? Anybody remember? His name is Antony Blinken. So Biden comes in and he wants to change the world. He's got this megalomania, and Blinken plays to it, not only in West Asia, but in Ukraine. And these stupid things happen where we egg Ukraine on to weaken Russia, sacrificing, I used to say, the flower of Ukrainian youth, but a lot of those guys are almost as old as I am, for God's sake, fighting and dying in Ukraine because we want to weaken Russia. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that in that light, when Obama was prescient enough to tell his biographer, that guy in the Atlantic, Goldberg, he said, you know, we have to be careful about picking what our core interests are. Now, Ukraine, that is a core interest of Russia. It's not a core interest of ours, okay? Well, Biden screwed the whole thing up, okay? Now let's go to the North Koreans. I agree with everything Scott already said. The Russians don't need the North Koreans to encircle the troops that Ukraine sent into Kursk, because they're already encircled. So are there North Korean troops in Russia? I think there are. The ones that are training that Scott referred to under bilateral agreements, but also I think there are others in there. You know, what are they doing? Well, when Putin was asked about that 2 weeks ago, he said, oh, so you have satellite images of North Koreans in Russia. Well, that's probably some substance to that. Now, let me tell you what that means. That means we have a mutual defense treaty with North Korea, which has a phrase in it, Article 4, as Scott already said, which says each one is obligated to come to the defense of the other if there is an armed invasion. Okay? Whoa! So that's really important. In other words, we have these treaties with people who agree with us, and South Korea, take note. If you have any machinations in mind about North Korea, we are bound to come to North Korea's aid. So what does this mean? Well, this means that Putin thought it a really good opportunity to advertise the fact that not only does he have friends at BRICS, but he has allies, military allies in North Korea. Last thing here on the North Koreans. The North Koreans are coming, the North Koreans are coming. Well, maybe that means the South Koreans are coming. What do I refer to? There was one report from a fairly decent, from a blogger with a fairly decent reputation, that what Ukraine needs, of course, are not only F-16s, but pilots that can pilot these F-16s, right? And so when they looked around, and this is the story, okay? This is story, not verified. They looked around and said, oh, wait a second, South Koreans. they have more. They have 150 such F-16s and many more pilots. So, wow, let's get them to come to be based in southern Romania, and whoa, that would turn the tide. Okay, now, so the little charade here would be, you get the South Koreans committed to doing something stupid like this because they're all going to get shot down. Okay, but you'll justify it. That's the key. You justify it by the presence of North Korean troops in Russia. Well, that would be, if a couple of them showed up, that would show that the treaty is in effect. In other words, Russia has been invaded by Ukraine, North Korea. All three of those North Korean troops are there under the treaty to retaliate against Ukraine. So it's a complex sort of thing. The last part of it, which says that the U.S. has this plan, or NATO has this plan, to announce maybe in the next day or two, here comes the cavalry. Okay, South Korean pilots are going to turn the tide. We're all good in Ukraine. Don't worry about it. Just vote for us, and we'll see what happens on November 6th. I don't think they're going to do that, the North Korean South Korean duet. But it's a possible late October or early November surprise. Unlikely, but possible.